We are now about 6 weeks away from the start of the Delphi murders trial, but the bills for this case are staggering. 13 Investigates has learned the Delphi murders trial has now cost taxpayers more than $1 million, and that total is expected to go much higher. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Segall explains tonight how all that money has been spent, including some expenses you might not expect.
It's been nearly 2 years since Richard Allen was arrested and charged with the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. And as the legal battle drags on, the costs keep going up. 13 Investigates has obtained these accounting records from the Carroll County auditor. They show Carroll County taxpayers have now spent just over $1 million on the Delphi murders case.
It's a lot.
Mike Fincher is Carroll County's emergency management director. He says Carroll County budgeted $2.1 million for the Delphi murders trial. But as the case gets bigger and the timeline gets longer, that might not be enough.
Is there a chance you're going to go over that $2.1 million?
Part of me thinks that we might. We added 15 more days to the trial, so there's 15 more days of expenses. Now we're going to have to look at where the money's going to come from.
Of the $1 million spent so far, more than half, about $581,000, is considered expenses for Richard Allen's defense. That includes $434,000 for his attorneys, $49,000 for experts, $47,000 for investigators, and nearly $38,000 for depositions and transcripts.
Is that a lot for a case like this? That is high. And this case is honestly more high profile in Indiana than most of our death penalty cases. So it doesn't shock me.
Derek Mason runs the Indiana Commission on Court-Appointed Attorneys. He says the organization will be reimbursing Carroll County for about 40% of its defense costs. That's because Carroll County is a member of the commission, which helps local communities cover the cost of big murder trials like this one.
Having that 40% reimbursement, it's almost like an insurance policy for counties.
The commission does not cover costs for the prosecutor, and so far the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office has spent $370,000 on the Delphi murders case. Most of that, about $250,000, is for additional attorneys to help the prosecutor. The next biggest expense, $72,000 for a special podium with AV equipment like this one to be used in the courtroom. Other prosecutor costs include about $20,000 for computers and computer equipment, $9,000 to pay for Richard Allen's housing at state prisons, $7,500 for expert witnesses, and $4,000 for a trial consultant to help the prosecutor plan his trial strategy.
This is all purchased this year.
Then there are costs for courthouse security.
This is new.
Yep.
Carroll County has spent $86,000 on new metal detectors, an x-ray machine, barricades, and fencing, all for this murder case.
We never had any of that. Being a rural county, we really didn't have court security until this came up.
It's surprising to the extent that the courthouse didn't already have some of those things. But again, that speaks to the venue where this horrific event has happened.
13 News legal analyst Katie Jackson-Lindsay has served as both a defense attorney and a prosecuting attorney. I asked her if the $1 million spent so far is too much.
What's at stake here, you can't put a price on that. We're talking about life and liberty, the lives of 2 young girls that have been lost, and the justice that is owed to their family. And we're talking about Richard Allen's liberty, his freedom. You can't quantify what's too much to ensure that there's a fair and just resolution for everyone.
The actual amount spent so far is actually closer to $1.4 million. That includes overtime and investigation costs for Indiana State Police and new invoices filed by the defense team. Carroll County officials are meeting in the coming weeks to discuss whether they need to set aside more funding for the trial. If you want to see a more detailed breakdown of expenses, we've got that posted right now at WTHR.com. I'm Bob Segall, 13 Investigates.